Good morning. We haven't talked much about Lent, and we are definitely in that season of Lent right now. Usually during Lent, we focus on the suffering of Jesus and how we might accompany him to the cross. How do we do that centuries later? We see pictures and we create images in our mind, and we pray with our imaginative contemplation, putting ourselves there at the foot of the cross. And yet there is plenty of suffering going on in the world in which we live today. Our brothers and sisters in so many ways. We see people on the street corner. We see people in our families. We see people on the news. Suffering is prevalent. And so when we think of accompanying Jesus in his suffering to the cross, there's not like we'd have to look very far. Some of that suffering we carry within ourselves. How do we address compassionately the things that we personally have struggled with, perhaps for a short while, perhaps for years? Sometimes laying out the things that we're wrestling with, seeing it on paper, helps me kind of attack them and take them apart so that they have less of a heavy burden inside my heart that I'm carrying without itemizing it. The burden gets heavier sometimes. The sorrow that we feel for others. We know that Jesus lives within every person that God has created. With every person in this world, there Jesus exists within. The Spirit of God, the timeless, essential Spirit of God, is there present, animating individuals across country lines, across cultural lines, religious lines, gender lines, any kind of line in the sand we want to draw. God is animating, hoping to animate, inviting to animate our spirits. So how can we take the longing that we have to accompany Jesus to the cross and implement that by longing to accompany those with whom we walk every day? If Jesus is there within them, how do I walk with them? So much of the work that I do at Catholic Charities is exactly that. And yet you don't have to work with homeless individuals or the working poor in order to be able to accompany people who are suffering. You do so much of that automatically. And I think sometimes we forget to pay attention to that, to be intentional about that. But during Lent, we might want to to look more closely. How can I lift a burden for someone today? Have I placed that burden there myself? Have I overstepped? Have I interfered? Have I caused suffering? Sometimes saying that we're sorry is the first step. True regret for behavior and actions, for words said and not spoken, that we can do something about. So look carefully at your life today. I've been turning this over in my head for a few days now. Who is it that I need to do repair work with? Where are the potholes in my life that I need to fill? And what will it cost me? And is that cost worthwhile? Especially when we say we want to accompany Jesus to the cross. It's these kinds of little reminders to ourselves. Yes, filling those potholes in our relationships is desperately important. I pray for you. Please pray for me.